I've had a lot of chances this past year during COVID to sit in silence and stillness. And the thing that I've learned about myself the most is that I need people to feel whole. Like, I need friendship and people to feel secure about myself. And I also realized that I use friendship and people to fill voids in my life and to avoid getting to know myself better. I truly think that society has created this social stigma around being alone, as if being alone is like some disease and anyone caught in solidarity is a social reject or a loser. I always avoided being alone because I was scared. I was scared to be alone. I was scared that I wouldn't be able to handle the negative thoughts and the FOMO that entered into my mind like 24/7. I was scared of what others would think of me if I wasn't seen out and about and if I wasn't posting my moments on social media. I definitely measured my success and my happiness off of the amount of friends I had, the number of social things I could attend, and whether I was showing it off on Instagram to remind people that, Sydney has a life and she is a fun one too. So in college, I overscheduled myself and I had so much on my plate academically and socially that I didn't ever give myself a second to just slow down and to just be. Anytime I'd experience a second by myself, I would immediately call a friend up to do something because I could not stand the idea of being alone. And then I graduated from college, and no one ever talks about how friendship dynamics change when you graduate from college. People go on and do different things, they choose different paths and end up just rearranging their priorities. And to be honest, there was definitely a time after college where I craved just that social aspect of life that I was so used to having, like going out every night and doing things all the time and constantly being surrounded by so many people, no matter what the hour of the day was. But my circumstances changed. I got married and I started spending more time with my husband because I wanted to, and I started getting tired earlier at night, and I'd go to sleep at 10:30, and then COVID hit, and talk about being alone. But luckily, I had Sam, and so that helped. But even with Sam, I still started feeling feelings of loneliness. Those feelings of loneliness would still creep in somehow. At this point, I thought, okay, what's wrong with me? I literally live with someone else and I'm with him all the time, and he's the best at giving me the attention I need, but why am I feeling lonely? And then Sam started getting busy with school and his classes were just intense, and so I started to see him less and less, and then I really started to feel alone. Then one day when he was at the library and I was just at home, it was after work, I was just aimlessly scrolling through movies, I finally had the conversation that I had been dreading to have with myself. Sydney, why do you hate silence? Why can't you stand being alone? Why do you feel like you need people to go and do things? You're perfectly capable of taking your car and driving to X place to do X thing, but why don't you? Then the answer came to me. It was because I'm not sure who I am when I detach myself from other people. Sometime later, I had a conversation with my best friend about the topic. I really look up to her because she is a queen at embracing alone time and just making the most of it. So I hit her up and I was like, hey, how do you do it? How are you happy if you spend a lot of time by yourself?
Once I started to do things by myself and I started to do more things that I liked, I was, just happier in general, honestly, because I had always used other people and my ex in situations. I would use them as excuses to not do something. I'd want to do something and I'd ask somebody to do it with me, and then we'd never make plans. And so then I'd be resentful, or I'd feel like I'm missing out on life. And I realized in those moments, there's nothing holding me back from doing that by myself. And the only reason that I was holding myself back was because of fear.
So I started to challenge myself. Instead of distracting myself from it, from loneliness and from being alone, I started to embrace those feelings. And I started to embrace the idea of being okay by myself in silence. I started to take myself out on dates and doing things that I normally wouldn't do. I started focusing on things that made me grow and that made me feel empowered. I also started taking more breaks from social media. I still film my moments during the day and I take photos of memories that I want to remember, but I don't feel this need anymore or this pressure to have to post all my moments on Instagram. You shouldn't feel ashamed to be alone and to spend time with yourself. embrace loneliness. Take it and turn it into like a good thing. It doesn't have to be this negative experience. And it's okay to need people, but your happiness shouldn't come from people. Your happiness should come from within. And I think the sooner you recognize that, at least for me, the sooner I recognize that like I don't need people to be happy, I became happier. And I kind of felt free because I realized that like people are great, but like they make mistakes, they disappoint you, they let you down, they're not perfect. And so if you attach your happiness to people, you're gonna be hurt a lot. And so as soon as I realized that like, no, I can be happy by myself, like I don't need people to make me happy, the easier it was for me to be happy and to embrace loneliness. Just because you're feeling lonely doesn't mean that you're gonna be lonely forever. The other day I was visiting my friend who has kids and who's transitioned into motherhood, and I realized that at that stage in her life, like you don't get as much time to yourself. That peace and solidarity that we're seeing as a negative thing right now, I know for a fact that she would love that, and that would be a positive thing for her. And it kind of just made me realize to not take for granted what I have right now. This peace and solidarity that I once complained about shouldn't be a scary thing. Like I should embrace it and see it as a privilege, because I recognize that one day when I do transition into motherhood, I won't be able to have that as much. And so definitely enjoy it while it lasts. Over the past year, I have definitely learned to find a lot of peace in silence and in solitude. And to me, that equates happiness. Happiness to me comes from having a peace of mind and detaching yourself from people and things so that you can be more aware of yourself and your surroundings.